Hey there guys, welcome back to Nerd Kingdom. So today I've got 5 quick tips on basically how to stop D&D characters and players from being complete murder hobos in your campaign. Now, I got a free one here for you right at the front, which is have a session 0, have a discussion with your players about the type of campaign that you want to run and the kinds of characters you expect them to play. It's going to save you a lot of heartache. It's going to save you a lot of pain down the line if they are inclined to act that way. But generally, I think that kind of behavior comes from characters feeling like they can get away with it as well. So the best way to go about making a player stop in that situation or nipping that behavior is to lay out the rules before you even begin. The first tip I have for you guys is to talk about it with the players. There is a fair chance that that person doesn't realize that they are acting in a way that is ruining the game for other people. So discuss it with those players, have a conversation and discuss. One really common tip that I will see a lot of is kill that person's character. If somebody starts murder hobo and kill that character, I don't really agree with that. But I do agree with in-game consequences. I believe that if somebody does something illegal, even if it is the party rogue, then they should have a bounty or be wanted by the law. And if they keep doing that thing, if they keep ignoring those consequences, then there's the threat of losing their character. The third tip that I've got for you guys is for the DM to physically step in and to stop this sort of behaviour. What I've done on occasion is I've actually talked with other players and I've asked them how their character feels, and I'll encourage the rest of the group to go, okay, we're going to stop adventuring with that person. Now, you're not kicking a person from your game. You're actually telling that person that, hey, the rest of the group doesn't feel safe with your character anymore, so they're going to leave your character in the next inn, and they're not going to those characters are not going to team up with you anymore. You're going to need to make a new character. Basically being told that you're going to lose that character if you continue to play that way. Now bear in mind this is tip 3, and I recommend going about this in sort of like this order, is basically talking to the person first, making sure that they know that that's not okay behavior. If they keep doing it, then have in-game consequences like bounties and being wanted by the law, and then stepping in and maybe seeing how the rest of the players feel about that behaviour. And if it's very clear that everyone hates it and everyone doesn't want that character to, why would I trust a character who's constantly stabbing people in the back? Then it's fine, in my opinion, to just turn around and go, okay, Jeff, you've been killing 20 odd people in every single town we've gone in. You are no longer travelling with these people. They don't trust you anymore. So the fourth tip I have is to make it a part of the story in a fun way. Now, this is really difficult to do. So Jeff decided he was going to butcher a bunch of innocent people in a D&D game for no real reason. So I went through the list. Point number 1, I decided to talk to him about it. I talked to him about it, and he basically gave me an excuse that was very clearly, I got bored and decided I was going to kill them to see what happened. Before I could do any in-game consequences, before I could have him become wanted or have anything kicking off, Jeff and a few other players decided they were going to split the party in 2. This is a party of about 10 players, and they were going to teleport off to a different location. Half of the group was in one location and were totally happy with Jeff's murder hoboing situation, and the other half of the group were furious that he was going around killing people for the sake of it, and decided that they were not going to meet up with that person's character again. So it was very much a campaign ending situation for a lot of people. So I decided to make it part of the story in an interesting way. Now, Jeff had really irritated me with this decision, and when Jeff and some of the other players teleported to a different city, he was basically a wanted fugitive because he'd released an aboleth, and the aboleth had poisoned his mind, basically turning him into a psychopath. Jeff's murder hoboing all of a sudden made a lot of sense as to why his character would act that way, because he had been warped by this alien intelligence. And I thought it was also a pretty fun story, but Jeff got in touch with me after we went through that whole series of adventures, and he basically said that he hated the character and what the character had become at that point, and that he didn't want to play him anymore because he didn't like being forced to play a psychopath in a game. So I turned around to Jeff and I said, you're more than welcome to play a new character, and there've been no issues since. The last option that you have is, after you've tried talking to a person, you've given them warnings, there have been in-game consequences, you've talked to other characters and other players in your campaign, and they're not happy with that behaviour. You kind of only have one real option, that's to remove that player from the game. And this can be a really awkward conversation to have, but ultimately you got to think that this is about your fun, and if you, the DM, are not having fun, and if your players who care about the story that you've crafted are not having fun, and if the person you are playing with who is acting in this way, who is almost on purpose at this point, going out of their way to ruin things, you don't want that person. And 9 times out of 10, even though that can be really awkward, that can be a horrible conversation to have, it is the best conversation to have for the longevity and the enjoyment of everyone else at the table. So guys, that is it. That is the video about how to deal with problem players. I hope that this has been somewhat beneficial to you. I hope you guys never have to go through any of this, but if you do, I hope that you think about these tips. Talk to the player first, discuss in-game consequences, having bounties and things like that for those kinds of actions, stepping in as a DM and talking with the other players, maybe trying to find a way to make it a part of the story, and finally then removing that player from the group because they can just poison a campaign. So I hope you guys have found that helpful. Have a great day, guys. See you next time.